Okay, so we are on week 5 of the Trusting God Bible study. And this week we're talking about trusting God with our time. And I just have to say that it's kind of ridiculous that I'm teaching on this because I have a really hard time with time. I always have been someone who feels like I don't have enough time. And I think it got really exacerbated when I had young children and I got into a habit of believing that I don't have enough time. And I mean, I remember when my first child was born and the nursing wasn't going well and it was taking forever. And then there would have to be bottle feeding on top of that. And then I had to eat. And I just remember every time I would sit down to eat, like the days of eating a leisurely meal were just gone. And I think they were gone for like 10 years. And by that time, I just was in the habit of rushing. And every time I got a babysitter, if I got a babysitter to do something, I never had enough time. And when my children went to preschool, there was never enough time in that 3-hour window to get everything done. And I just took on this, like, sort of in my bones, this belief that there wasn't enough time. Well, I am here to tell you that I still have one son at home and I'm working somewhat part-time and I have enough time, but I still feel like I don't have enough time. So I find it ironic that I'm teaching on this. In fact, every lesson from this trusting God has really been me teaching myself. So I want to share with you some of the things I'm learning to tell myself. And that is this, that God is outside of time and he created time. Like he put the moon in place and the sun in place. He created day and night. And isn't it cool that like we as humans sleep better in the dark, like our circadian rhythms, and that there is nighttime and we need about that much sleep, give or take. And we need the sun to help us wake up and feel happy and motivated to do things. So, like, big picture, time, the boundary lines of time, like, that's even a miracle in and of itself that we as human beings with our needs were placed in a world that has those boundary lines. And even the idea of a weekend has been such a gift to humanity, and it comes from Genesis in part, where God rested. And, you know, there was a time where there was no weekend. Like that was that humans introduced that, and they realized that work production was better when there was rest and when those weekends were delineated, like a work day and a rest day. So I think one of the first things that I'm telling myself and that helps me is when I dispel of the belief that there isn't enough time in a day. And when I find myself chafing and rushing, it's a little bit like a light on the dashboard that needs to tell me, hey, is there something else going on? Are you upset about something? Are you stressed about something? And you're probably like, yeah, I am stressed about something. But it's a reminder to me that when we are upset about something and we are stressed about something, the rushing is only going to add to our stress. And the rushing is only going to help us avoid the thing that we're upset about. And it's just going to fester and make us even more upset. So rushing is like a light on the dash that's like, hey, pull over the car, check in, see if everything's okay. And if it's not, let's take a minute out of our day, even though if it's a pain, to get the car fixed or to like assess what's going on. And so the first thing I want you all to think about is that our relationship with time is like a dashboard light, and to dispel of the idea that we don't have enough time, because time is a gift and it represents reality. So part of maturity is learning to meet the demands of reality, to just sort of live in reality and live in peace with reality. And so as mature adults, We have to adapt to the limits of time and learn to be at peace with them. And I tell myself this a lot, like, I have enough time in this day to get done what I need to get done. And if it doesn't get done, it didn't need to get done. And the rest of the world can adapt. I can adapt. I can admit I failed. Like, all of those things are okay. Balls can get dropped. Like, this is reality. It's all okay. So the next thing I do is, it comes from this idea of, it's a verse that says, unless the Lord builds the house, the laborers labor in vain. And I've had so many times in my life where I've worked really hard on something and it's just amounted to nothing. And then I've had other times where something has kind of clicked into place. It's been efficient, it's worked well, and it's had like long lasting fruit. And it helps me remember that we can kind of spin our wheels and spend a lot of energy on things that don't really matter. And that's a little bit what this text is about. It's one of the things this text is about. Is the Lord says to Martha and Mary, he's talking to Martha and Mary, he said, Martha, Martha, you were worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Indeed only one. And Mary, who's kind of the foil in the story, is sitting at Jesus's feet first. And it's this idea that at various seasons in our life, whether we're a teenager, a college student, I love college students, but I always laugh when they tell me they're very busy, because I'm like, none of these things are essential. But they are, and they were to me. But like, no matter what season you're in, college kid, young, you have young kids, you're working, you're an empty nester. Like, our relationship with time, we always have like many things. And one of the things that's really helping me is this verse that says, order my steps. It's a prayer. Order my steps in your word, and let not iniquity have dominion over me. Let not iniquity have dominion over me. And what I find is that when I tell the Lord that my dashboard light is on and I'm upset and I'm stressed, and I go and sit before the Lord and I say, my dashboard light is on. Something's going on. I'm rushing, I'm hurrying, I'm stressed. Will you help me order my steps today? Will you help me order my day? And will you show me what doesn't need to get done? Will you show me things I can let go? And will you show me what's important? And help me tune my ears to your word, to your spirit today. And we can just sit with the Lord and ask him to order our steps, and we can lay our stress and our, even if we're upset, we can say, show me what this is about. I can feel it in my body. Show me what this is about. And then the last thing I'll say, so that has really helped me. The last thing I'll say is that I have become aware that myself, and I notice in other people, waste a lot of energy on things that don't lead to anything. And I'm not even talking about the many things that we do that are busy. I'm talking about unproductive thinking. So what I would call, our brain is like a stew and a brew. We're brewing and stewing about things. It might be politics. It might be concerns about family. It's whatever we're preoccupied with. We in our brains spend a lot of time and a lot of energy preoccupied with certain things. And if you can identify your unproductive thinking, your preoccupations, and if you start leaning into it, you'll see it's a pretty consistent theme in your life. And you can start like cutting it off when you see yourself going in that unproductive cycle. It doesn't produce anything. Like, being preoccupied with politics is a great example, because you can't really do anything, but it gives you the illusion that you're doing something. But really, unless you're involved in local politics or have a political position, or an activist, you're really just going to be voting. And so we spend a lot of energy. That's just one example. We all have many, many examples. But identifying your unproductive thinking, your preoccupations. So are the many, many things that cloud our brain and take up time in our day. And these are things that happen that God can reveal to us when we sort of spiritually sit with him, so to speak, or metaphorically sit with him and open our hearts to like listen and say, Lord, tell me what's going on in my life. Tell me what's going on with this. Tell me what's going on in my town. Why am I upset about this? And we could just lay those things out with the Lord. That's the one thing. And then out of that one thing becomes a more ordered relationship with time. So I tell you that just to say that's what I've learned through the years. And I do find that when I can take the 24-hour period that I have and kind of give it back to God and ask him to help me, it helps my relationship with time. All right. I hope you all have a good discussion.